Hi, I'm John Amaro, past president of ARA.
Hi, I'm Tom Andrade from Everett Auto Parts in Brockton, Massachusetts.
In today's episode, we're going to be looking at Everett's full service and aftermarket part divisions.
So now we're in the full service yard.
All right.
We operate our full service yard probably like most other recyclers do. Vehicles that we bought specifically for this yard, or vehicles that my inventory manager took out of the general population that comes through the door.
Yeah.
We bring them in, we put them up on the rack, we run them, we test, we run the engines, we test parts that we can test, and he does a dismantling, he does an inventory report on it.
Are you using any specific tools to help you buy for the full serve, or is it just kind of like in your head?
No, we use Bid Buddy.
Okay, you do, okay.
We use Bid Buddy. At least to do the quick evals on the vehicles.
Sure. When
it gets here, we're going to inventory about 90 parts on a vehicle.
Inventory buddy for that?
No,
Worksheets.
we don't just, my guy's old school and likes paper.
There we go, okay.
So we do.
About how many parts are you inventorying, or is it really depend on the car?
It depends if it's a truck or a passenger vehicle, but primarily about 90 parts on a vehicle.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And then, so the one thing that's different with us is our entire yard is pretty much a big holding area. So as the stuff comes in, it gets inventoried, it gets placed in the yard. Our dismantling is, probably 50-50 sales versus inventory driven.
Okay.
Any order that pops up, we're going to put the vehicle in. Mm-hmm. We're going to drop the. It's usually a drivetrain item. We're going to drop that part for the customer, and then they're going to continue on the car. We're only going to touch the car once in dismantling. We're going to take off the 20 part types or so that the system says, you're going to sell this stuff.
Sure.
And so we only touch it once.
You say take it off, meaning take it off and just
physically
stock it somewhere?
Physically take it off and warehouse it. That's why it's down to about 20. There's a lot of repetition in this yard, just like the other yard.
Sure.
So
so in the self-serve, your turns are about every 30 days?
Yes.
Full service is probably a little bit slower?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe we're at about four turns a year.
Okay. And how many spots do you typically have in your full serve, do you know?
So right now, we're still finishing off the newest acquisition, so we have a little bit more space to fill. We just finished the site work, so we're ultimately going to be able to hold 750 cars in the full service yard. The one thing that's a little different about us, because of the amount of vehicles that we have here and the way that our dismantling is driven, most of the stuff here is our gravy stuff because it's unprocessed. So the car is going to sit around for a little bit. Obviously the better buys that we make, the faster they make it into dismantling.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff we'll get our gravy type sales with the parts pullers mobile in the vans. But a lot of times before it actually makes it into dismantling.
So you'll sell a door before it hits a shop?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's here, it's inventoried, it's ready to sell.
Correct.
Got it. So what drives dismantling is going to be what is up for sale, or maybe the thing that's been here longest?
It's a combination of both. Anything that does pop up for a sale gets priority and it goes in. Other than that, we're pulling from existing inventory.
Makes sense. And how many lifts do we have running here that you use?
So we have 4 bays, 2 lifts per bay.
2 lifts per bay. So that means one dismantler has 2 lifts, or is there 2 guys dismantling?
Depends how many guys I have.
Okay, that's a very...
So if I only have 4 dismantlers, they have 2 lifts.
Gotcha.
If I have 8 dismantlers, they have 1 apiece.
So you have up to 8 lifts ready to go?
Up to 8 ready to go. On average, we have between 5 and 6 dismantlers.
How many cars is there an expectation of? Is that piece pay also, or is it one per day? Or
we do pay our dismantlers piecework, and we're averaging 30 to 35 cars a week through the facility.
Wow. Okay, that's good. That's awesome. And they're handling any car, so that one guy doesn't do all trucks. They just whatever's
Correct.
next.
It comes up next in order for sales or whichever. What we do is we pre-stage some of the inventory stuff.
Yeah.
So when a sales order comes, the loader operator will pick the vehicle and he'll place it in the staging area. So all the dismantler needs to do is drive across this roadway and put the car in his bay.
And then when the car's done, they signal to somebody, the guy comes and gets the car to the lift.
They'll come out and they'll place it in a designated area, and then a wheel loader will take it away. And then if there's not a sales order next in the queue, then they'll grab from the inventory that we pre-stage.
Gotcha.
So just to keep it fair and equitable for the dismantlers.
So someone's not getting every Honda Accord, and then someone's getting every truck, and you're going, what?
Correct.
Yeah, I understand that. So and they got air in there?
All the building, they're all pre-wired. They're all pre-piped for air.
Yep.
So every dismantler every bay has a fork truck. Every bay has tear down tables, pre-wired for air. We do have a torch cart just in case there is something that we need to cut out. And then each dismantler has between 1 and 2 lifts, depending on how many dismantlers.
And you made this building.
We did.
This is pretty amazing, actually. Yeah. So once again, just shows the ingenuity and the ability to make work what you have.
So
right?
we took 40-foot sea containers, stacked them on top of each other, welded them together, put trusses on, put corrugated sheeting around the side. Each bay has a waste oil heater.
Oh, really? Each one has their own waste oil?
Each one has their own heater.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
So these are operational, like you said, all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And these guys are working 6 days or 5 days?
Some work 6, some work 5.
Okay. So they come out. Are the guys? They're tagging parts. They have tags.
Correct.
And are they touring out parts?
Yep. So the dismantler is going to get a dismantling packet. He's going to do the general process on the vehicle that we do in the processing area.
Okay.
They're going to drain the fluids. They're going to take out the gas tank. They're going to take out the catalytic converter, the batteries, and then they're going to go and they get a flat fee for the process.
Okay.
And then they're going to go and remove the parts, and then they get a per tag number for parts. Doesn't matter if it's a core or if it's an inventory part or the sale part. They get a tag fee for each one.
Who is stocking the parts? The dismantler stock as well?
No, we have another couple of guys that will, when they're done, they'll call for inventory. Inventory will come down, give it a quick QC on all of the parts.
Make sure they got everything out there.
Make sure they got everything off. Make sure that everything has the right tags on it. That there's no blatant damage that they can see right away. And then they'll take it and stock it into the various warehouse spots.
Gotcha. So when it comes out dismantling, it's on a pallet, I'm guessing?
Correct. It'll be on an engine pallet.
Yeah, if there's an engine, it'll be on an engine pallet and it'll be ready to be put away.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Great.
The inventory guy will strap it down, make sure that the tag's visible, and then we'll write our tag numbers on the outside of the part so it's easier for the guys to find when they have to pull it off the shelf. But yeah, it's pretty much ready to be stocked once it's dismantled.
Wow. Okay. And so you mentioned cores. And you mentioned cats. I mean, you're producing so many catalytic converters here. I mean, that's just the nature of what we do. And so with all these coming through the system, what's your process for those? Like, what do you do? How do you handle this?
So we've done it pretty much always. You know, we've had the pickup truck guy come in and buy all the cats every single week. We've stored up and sold complete loads. We have a long-term relationship with Rebuilders Automotive Supply. Raz has been fantastic to us. We were one of the first people to do assay-based sales with them.
Wow. Okay.
And they've just kept improving the program
that's
over the
norm
years.
now. The norm is
absolutely that's the norm. If you're not selling assay based, you're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely.
It's the only way to do it and be fair and equitable to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you take a traditional, I always use bread loaf because it's just the most recognizable cat. You have a low grade, a medium grade, and a high grade, and the truck guys, they want to play the shell game. And unless you're scraping in New England, it's all rust. So you have to scrape off all the ID numbers to make sure that you're getting paid for the large and not the small.
Yeah.
But they come in every single week. They pick up all of our material. It's all kept separate.
So
it's
weekly. They're coming in every week.
They come in weekly. We don't want to leave too much product on the property at any one time.
I guess that makes sense when you have that much volume, when you have that many things. And so when you're selling them to Raz, you have a good relationship, a good rapport, you've got a good system where you're tracking your data.
Absolutely. So we seal the container as it leaves here every single week. They provide acceptance reports. They give you physical piece counts. There's complete transparency. They give you the reports from the smelter or wherever they're selling the material to. They have their own independent lab.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
In-house, they have their own independent lab in-house. Fast payments, whatever payment structure you arrange with them, they're very flexible, and they will work with you.
That's good. And so if you don't have a person you're selling on an assay based for your catalytic converters, look at Raz. They do a great job. They've been supporting the association and the industry for years. Tom can be a testimonial for him, it sounds like, but just make sure you are looking at that commodity for all it's worth. I know that we talk about that often, but it's something we really don't know what it's worth. And we can be really taken advantage of if we don't have a good relationship, and it sounds like you do. And that's transparency and upfront pricing and getting knowing you're gonna get paid,
correct,
is a big deal in this time and age.
And then, you know, and then they also have their RASCOR app program, so you can scan VINs, you can do the recall program through the app.
Yeah.
You can scan for cores. You can actually place them in your basket, and you'll get an immediate tally of what's in your basket, how much the core's worth. So, you know, all around, it's not just cats, it's cats and it's cores.
So you're running the cars through on a on their VIN system, and you're determining, is that AC compressor going to go on the shelf or is it going to go in the core box?
Exactly.
Gotcha. And obviously the recall thing's huge. It's still going on. If you think it's gone away, it hasn't. RES is handling it.
They do,
and they're paying you on that too.
They have some outsourced guys that come in. They come in here twice a week, go through any of the vehicles. We scan everything for recall VIN as well. We mark the vehicles that we find, and then he's our safety net. He goes through and he finds them occasionally in other cars, and he pulls them all out. And you know, you're doing the right thing, getting the recall off the streets, and you know, you're getting paid for it.
So Tom, with all these parts, you're dismantling 30 plus cars a week in the full service side. You've got engines on both sides of me. You've got warehouses with the parts that are ready to go to customers. How do we deliver them to your customers that are on the full service side?
So every order, we'll make it into our dispatch office, but everything's kind of handled at the dispatch office. Okay. So any orders that pop, whether it's a retail or commercial customer, everything will come down off of the shelves. It'll go into the wash bay, the prep bay.
Okay.
Parts get cleaned up and get ready for shipment. We run 4 delivery trucks a day. We have a Boston, a local, a long distance, and then kind of everything else catch-all. So we don't have as many trucks coming through the door anymore. We belong to RCD, so we send
Recyclers Cross Dock.
Yeah, so
okay.
we send a truck to the Worcester dock every single night.
Yeah.
You know, and primarily trade with the partners in that group, and it significantly cuts down, you know, the truck traffic coming in here every single day with the brokered parts. The return process is much easier. The month-end payments and reconciliation on statements is so much easier, and it just cuts down some of the chaos in the middle of the day.
Sure, you can stage everything for those partners in one spot, put it on one truck, go to one meeting spot, take all the parts and push them out. Done. Get all your parts in and come right back.
And I could be brokering a part from upstate New York at 2 in the afternoon, and it's on my delivery truck at 8 o'clock the next morning.
That's great. And this goes back to another one of the yard tours we did, and that was with a different transportation company. It was with Midwest Runner, which is now the PRP network. But it's kind of the wave of the future as we are moving as independent recyclers and, you know, consolidated recyclers. Just moving product becomes so vital as a profit center, taking care of our customers. And so, with Tom being a part of Recyclers Cross Dock, he even has an opportunity to trade with people in Virginia. It takes a little bit more time, but we can move product between each other, and you know, so I think it's great, and I completely understand all the synergies and the positive things happening when you get to do that. So you've got your logistics guy, you got your field techs that are pulling parts, they're bringing it to the wash bay, they're washing the parts, they're prepping it for your customers. But then you still can have customers come to your front door.
Absolutely.
That are commercial accounts, right?
When you know, we run everything out of Pinnacle. So we use our work order manager, and the dispatcher will hand out dismantling orders. They'll hand out parts puller orders. Then they'll handle picker orders. So we're pulling parts off of the shelf for retail or commercial orders. And they're doing it for everything. They're doing it to stage for deliveries. They're doing it to stage for common carrier or LTL shipments. And they're doing it to stage for customer pickups or customers that are physically on site right now.
Gotcha. So when here's a question on the bigs, like engine transmissions, rear ends, carriers, smalls, alternator starters, are you getting cores in the full service side?
If there's a high enough core value,
you'll go back and pick it up.
We will.
Okay, got it.
We will.
Makes sense. Well, this looks great. Where are we going to go from here? Because this is not all a full service. I want to see the sales and how that functions as a brain or wherever.
So before we head to sales, we'll head over to our aftermarket warehouse, because that's the other piece of full service that we've kind of recently integrated in to have all that extra inventory at the salesman's fingertips.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to see that. Is all of your aftermarket parts, they're in Pinnacle as well?
Yeah, they are.
Separate store?
No, they're in our main full service store.
So the guys in the sales department can absolutely sell this as well as they could sell something from the service inventory?
They're the only ones that sell it. We shut the storefront down after the first year and completely transitioned everything to the salesman.
Really?
So when the salesmen look up a part, they're looking up our used inventory,
Yep.
they're looking up our trading partners, and they're looking at our new and aftermarket inventory.
So this is a place, the products you have in here are more than paying for themselves.
Yes.
And your customers are absolutely happy to have an opportunity to get these things.
Yes.
Because they're probably hard to get parts, like the parts that we don't buy a car. We know when we buy a car, there's going to be parts that aren't any good. And if you need a mirror or a fender or whatever you need, you might have it in this
Absolutely.
in stock. I don't do a lot of this. Do you buy by the can, or do you buy from by the piece?
For this stuff, we purchase individual, so we order from several companies. We do large orders, but
Yeah,
we're not doing orders directly from China. So we're working with a couple of different vendors. The problem with the aftermarket stuff is not every vendor has everything. They don't
Sure.
have the certain part types. They may not have all the makes and models that you need. So we definitely deal with a few different vendors. And in here, you're looking at starters, alternators, compressors,
Oh, hard parts,
radiators.
like hard parts.
Exactly.
Wow.
Headlights, taillights, wheels, steel and
Really?
aluminum.
Now,
Radiators, condensers, some control arms.
so could another yard, M&M, could M&M buy
Yes.
this from you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. If we were trading partners, you'd see it right in my inventory.
Wow, that's quite. You have more than a couple parts. How often are you selling this stuff? Is this like daily? You're seeing...
it's constant. It's constant. We decided to shut the storefront down. The previous business was had very little walk-in traffic, very little phone traffic. So we kept it open for a while and determined that it just wasn't financially feasible when all of the requests coming into the company were really coming into the main sales counter. So we ended up scuttling the storefront and just utilized the rest of the space for inventory. And like I said, we've quadrupled new and aftermarket sales in 3 years.
So there's a lot of push in the industry for not stocking but shadow listing. What do you see? Do you see it being so much more profitable to have it on the shelf, or would you say it's a hybrid of both?
I'm of the opinion that if you have it in stock and they can get it right now, it's much easier to make the sale. So we spend the money to lay out the inventory and have it on hand. Everybody can broker. You can wait a day or 2 or 3 days if it's on hand, especially in the retail environment.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about it earlier. They're not here window shopping.
No.
They're here because they have a problem. They need their car fixed. They have to go to work.
Yep.
And we don't have the used part in stock. But for maybe a few dollars more, we have the aftermarket part. And it makes the sale.
Yeah, they're not visiting Everett's because it's their favorite day of the week.
Exactly.
They're visiting here because there's a problem, and you're the solution, right?
Correct.
And so, but you're capitalizing on it. You have this inventory, a lot of inventory. Radiators. You sell a good bit of radiators.
Yep. One of the higher part types. So when like I said, we tried to stock it with all of our top 20 part types and all common vehicles. We're not trying to be an AutoZone and have everything. Sure. We don't have any uninventoriable parts. We're not carrying we're not carrying stuff that I can't inventory. If it doesn't have a Hollander interchange,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, you don't want it.
I don't want it.
Now, how do you have a person that's in charge of inventorying this product?
Yes.
And then you have people that aren't. Is there like one person over this entire thing, or like a couple people?
We have our aftermarket manager, long-term industry guy, worked for some big yards, worked for Greenleaf, worked for B&R, worked for us for years. So he's in charge of this. He does all of the restock and he does all of the expansion. So a couple of the companies just came out with some brand new compressor lines. We just completely stocked up for summer on compressors. He monitors all the reports and does all of the weekly reorders for everything that we sold, plus what we're going to expand to.
So you've got so many things that are filtering into the Everett's brand, right? How autonomous are your managers, team leaders? Do they have to come to you and say, Tom, I want to do this? Or do you go, this are the parameters and operate?
So A large restock, it's a restock. We sold it. We already sold it once.
Yeah.
You know, he has complete authority to just place that order. If he wants to expand into a new product type, then we look at the numbers, look at the demand, look at the cost, and make a decision. Make a decision together. We have about 10 managers. We have a manager over every department.
Okay.
So we have a sales manager, we have an operations manager, an office manager, processing manager, scale house manager, aftermarket manager, safety officer, head mechanic. So every single day we have a 9 o'clock staff meeting. So we have a 30-minute staff meeting every single day and go over, you know, anything that I need to communicate to them that's going on in the company, or and then they give daily status on what they completed the day before, what their focus is for that day, and we try to manage it that way. We have a long-term. Most of our managers are fairly long-term. The tenure averages over 10 years for everybody at the management table, and that, you know, some of them are as low as, you know, 2 or 3 years, and some of them are as high as 35 years.
And I ask that because I think that we always hear, and I think one of the things that has been difficult for so many operators is you get into the swing of having these meetings with people and they become monotonous, and then we just stop having them for 1 week, and it's 2 weeks and 3. Now you're a month out from having a meeting. And I always get reminded when I talk to people who go, no, I have meetings, this is what we do in the meetings. And just when you look at this, you can't micromanage this, Tom. Like, it has to be done by people who you trust and empower to do it themselves, right?
That's why we do the daily status meeting, because it's 30 minutes and we really try to keep it to 30 minutes. You know, don't get me wrong, there's days that it hits an hour.
Sure.
But for the most part, we're done within 30 minutes. Everybody has a good understanding what everybody else is doing that day, and they get a piece of my time to ask those questions and bring up issues. You know, we do have other meetings, you know, special projects and different stuff that we're doing, or issues that we're trying to tackle. So there are side meetings to that, but the main meeting is that one meeting every single day, and it's just to keep everybody kind of informed and on the same page.
No, and I think that's interesting because Everett Auto Parts, I mean, Everett has grown since you've been here. I mean, your grandfather, your dad, you, but that's not scalable if you're doing everything. I mean, at your facility, when you're watching this, obviously there's some people who are you're a sole operator doing everything, but if you're going to scale, you've got to start trusting people and empowering people to make decisions. But also communicate what your desire is for the company to look like to them. And I can see you're doing that across the board here, especially with, like you said, 4 years you've re-ramped this entire program of aftermarket, and now it's wildly profitable and it's a growing sector of your company. That's at a time when this is something that people are going away from, stocking aftermarket product. You found a way to do it and do it well. And that's something to be proud of.
If we were primarily commercial, I may have made that same decision.
Sure.
But when you factor in the retail volume that we handle, that's where a lot of this goes.
No, and I mean, and real estate's not cheap, right? So to have a building that you've set up with rack, with product that you've paid for, you've got to be able to prove the profitability of it, or it won't continue to be here. You got a lot going on, so unpack a little bit what we have going on here.
So we operate a true hybrid yard. The salesman will handle self-service customers, full-service customers, retail, commercial.
So they're going to handle everything from a $3,000 transaction on a motor that could be going to Oregon on our transportation network, or it could be handling someone walking out with an alternator in their hand that they pulled themselves.
Correct. Whenever we hire a new salesman, I use the line from Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
So this is crazy. So I want you guys to all think about this that are watching this video. You have full service people typically, and we have self-service, and we even have retail people sometimes that are very specific in our roles at our companies and sales. And what we see here is that each one of these salespeople have the capacity to handle any transaction. I think that's remarkable and amazing you've been able to train them like that.
It's difficult. It's difficult to retain salesmen. We're retail focused, so we're open 7 days a week.
Wow.
We only close Thanksgiving and Christmas, so and we're open extended hours. We operate more like we're a Walmart than we do a salvage yard.
Sure. So it's a little bit different scenario than what we're typically probably used to being around. but you've proven it's successful, and I'm excited to kind of unpack this. But as we look around, how many salespeople do you typically have that work with you?
There's usually 6 to 7 on staff at any one time, as well as 2 cashiers.
So you've got 2 cashiers, and the cashiers handle, what do they handle?
They handle everything. They'll ring up self-service customers, and they'll ring up full-service customers. Wow. Self-service customer, they don't have a lot of interaction with the salesman. They bring the part right to the cashier booth, and the cashier will ring up the transaction.
So these parts here, right? So we've got an array of stuff here, and I know some self-serve yards only do parts, but you obviously will sell more than just parts, and this may not be self-serve. This may be for anybody looking to do anything, right?
It's for anybody, primarily self-service customers. They forget a tool, don't bring a toolbox. Just makes it a lot easier for them to get the part while they're here, and not have to make a second trip.
Sure, so this is for them to use in the yard to pull their parts, or they can just take it and use it at home, I guess, right?
Correct.
Wow. Are these sales pretty consistent, or is this kind of like
no, they're very consistent. They're very consistent.
So then these people, so your salespeople, not only do they have to take care of wholesale accounts, retail accounts, self-service accounts, they're also servicing AutoZone parts.
This is pretty self-sufficient. Customers usually come over and pick it up off the shelf like you would in a regular store, and they go pay the cashier.
Anyway,
so the sales guys don't have to sell tools.
I think that's unique and just special. But all right, back to the people at hand that are really important. You've got these guys who are, like I said, handling yard-to-yard transactions, commercial account transactions, retail account transactions, self-service account transactions. And when we've been here, and it's not, we're here early, and it just keeps coming and coming. People keep coming in. So, how many people do you think are going to come through these doors on a day? I know you've got numbers in your head.
Yeah, we'll write 500 to 600 tickets a day.
A day. That means that these 6 guys are having to navigate all the customer bases we just talked about, and then all the tickets that could be different methods of payment, right? Because I'm sure you do credit cards, you do cash, probably not checks.
Commercial we do. Commercial checks.
Okay. And they also have the ability to sell aftermarket too, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're just adding on to all these things. But then you've got a ton of batteries. I know we talked about tires being a big seller, and you kind of cater to that market.
We're one of the larger battery retailers in Massachusetts, according to Interstate.
Really?
So
that's good.
We sell used batteries from our vehicles.
Okay.
Then we have reman batteries from Interstate, and then we also have new batteries.
On average, do you think this is the number one thing that comes out of this building for sales?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
And I see you're getting pretty good money on these. $55 plus a $10 core.
$55 is very reasonable compared to go buy a battery at Walmart or BJ's.
I haven't had to because I have access to the recycled ones.
Understand. Try to find one under 100.
Really? So you have marine batteries too?
We do.
And have
yeah, we carry some higher end new stuff. So we have some deep cycle marines.
Yeah.
We have some hybrid batteries.
And this is something that Interstate does with people like recyclers, where they'll offer them an opportunity to sell reman potentially?
Correct.
Or maybe other companies outside of Interstate as well. So I think this is something that we all sell batteries because they come in our cars to our customers. But if you ever run out of batteries, that might be an interesting opportunity for you as a recycler to explore partnering with a battery manufacturer or remanufacturer who will actually sell you batteries at a discount that you can put in your facility, and then give a warranty for it.
That's how it happened here. We bought batteries to supplement what we didn't have, and because of the pricing structure, it grew and it grew and it grew, and now we sell a lot of batteries. So I think that's everything. We covered sales, we covered acquisitions, we covered self-service, full service, new aftermarket, and tire center.
Yeah, you covered everything. I can't think of anything you haven't covered, and I just thank you so much for this time.
And we appreciate you being here.
All right, Tom, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. From Everett's Auto Parts and ARA, we want to say thank you for watching this.
We'd like to especially thank our sponsors, Allied Recycling and Rebuilders Automotive Supply.
If you like what you're watching and you want to see more of it, like and subscribe to our channel.
Hey, Vince, you were muted. Well, that was ineffective. So I was just thanking everybody who's tuned in over the last few weeks to watch these videos, people who have engaged with us in questions in the previous videos. Now's the time. If you have questions on this one or any of the previous episodes that we've aired, if you have any questions, type them into the comments, and Tom and Jonathan will do their best to answer them and address those questions. I want to say hi and shout out to HM Auto Parts and Recycle in Nottingham, PA. For their comment on YouTube. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Jonathan, any afterthoughts after being there on site, shooting this, and then sitting down today again and watching it through? I mean, that sales environment is the one thing that jumps out, that is probably something that you or I have never seen anywhere else. What do you say?
Without question, I think that was something that Tom and his team have done a great job of cultivating an environment and a culture to be able to handle each one of those transactions as they come in, and it's on the fly. I mean, it was maybe hard to capture on the video, but it could be someone trying to get to the U-pull, the next person trying to buy a motor, and the following person just trying to figure out, what happens next, or am I even in the right part of the Everett's ecosystem? And they're trained exceptionally well to handle each one of those things. Another thing, just to add, that you asked, what did I pick up on? And I feel like watching these episodes, the way that they were edited was so great. And Everett is such a, like I said, ecosystem, right? You've got the desert, the tropical, and whatever, the hills and mountains. But what was walking through the full service, I think it's a testimony to just say, we can create a good dismantling environment without having to do everything maybe somebody else does. And so Tom and his team have, put together those dismantling bays, and the way they handle the vehicles next to everything else, it worked really well. He used the resources he had in a way that I had not seen before. So I just think we showed it. We kind of approached that dismantling bay with sea containers and the way you kind of created those. But it's sometimes we get so stuck in saying, well, I don't have this fabricated building that maybe another recycler has, and we just get stuck in the mud. But Tom and his team's like, hey, what do we got? How do we make it work, and how do we make it look good and work well? And they've done that. So I just saw that, and I thought about that.
Yeah, that I remember. I think you and I both had an aha moment when you first are walking near those dismantling bays, and you're like, wait a second, are those sea containers?
And it's a product. It's a commodity in the sense that it's something we can all get our hands on, especially coastal recyclers. And their second life could be more profitable than their primary life. When you sit there and process cars through them or use them for storage or whatnot. So
yeah. So Tom, tell us about some of the challenges that you face with that sales environment. You mentioned during the video and when we were walking through, just that it's hard to train and maintain people. Have you ever thought about scrapping it and going to the traditional, conventional way of handling your salespeople?
Yes, all of it. So what we try to do is we hire cashiers, and if we get the right person to be a cashier, and they have some automotive knowledge and they learn the process of the company, we transition a lot of them out into the sales counter. When I mentioned earlier 500-600 tickets a day, those aren't all written by the salesman. A lot of those are cash register transactions that are done by the cashiers. So a salesman may have some upfront interaction with a U-pull-it customer, but they're going to go out, they're going to pull their part. They're not going to see the salesman upon exiting. They're just going to deal with a cashier. They would only need to get involved if it was, a customer that needed a VIN on a slip for reinspection, or it was actually a commercial account. So they have some upfront interaction, not so much on the back end. If we get somebody that's good as a cashier, we transition them out. I think three or four of the guys I have out there originally started with us as cashiers. So we find it much easier to teach them the sales process after they've already learned the cashier process. The problem with the cashier job is it's not like a traditional cashier at a convenience store or some other store. We don't have a boxed barcoded product. Somebody's going to lay a starter on the counter, and if you don't know that it's a starter, you can't ring it up. So they have to go through a learning process with the parts. So it makes hiring the cashier pretty difficult. But if we get a good one, they don't usually last more than a year in the cashier booth, and then they get transitioned out into the sales counter. Whenever we speak to sales guys that are at our other local yards, and they come sit and they watch, it's such a completely different environment because of the hybrid nature. They usually shake their heads and say, I don't want any part of this. So it's really difficult to get a traditional full service salesman from another yard. If they do join us, they don't usually last that long. 3 or 4 of the guys that are out there are anywhere from 15 to 30-year employees.
Wow.
And then all the younger guys are all literally transitioned out of the cashier environment. It's difficult because we're open, 1, the volume, and 2, the amount of hours that we're open. We're open 7 days a week. We're open extended hours. We only actually close 2 holidays. So it's a lot. It's a lot to staff. And
the weather in your part of the country doesn't always cooperate with you either, but you still manage, as you mentioned in one of the other videos. I mean, you guys, regardless of the weather, manage to open the doors and do business, and you've got people pulling parts in blizzards. And
we do. Obviously they're not record setting days, but you know, we are a service oriented, retail focused yard. So there's guys out there plowing and people that do have to get to work, and batteries die and wiper motors, you know, freeze up and break, and you know, guys coming in looking for stuff off of plows because their plow broke in the middle of their shift. So you know, we do it for some selfish reasons as well. You know, we got to clean the stuff at some point. There's no sense letting it sit in there and harden for 24 hours and just make it that much more difficult to clear the facility. So yeah, we are usually we're operational by 8 a.m. even in a blizzard.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
Jonathan,
the federal government's been operational for weeks after it rains, so it's pretty impressive.
So Jonathan, how insightful has this whole project been for you? For many watching may or may not know, Jonathan's not only the ARA past president, he's an operator of a full service facility in Virginia, and then just recently opened a self-service. So you're what, 60 days into your self-service operation, right?
Yes, so we are, and it's
how insightful was this project for you in that regard?
I mean, the timing was great because obviously I wanted to start the self-serve, I don't know, months before it actually happened. That's just how things go. You plan it and it doesn't happen until later. But seeing what Everett has been able to do with the uniqueness of their site, having, you know, 3 under 1 umbrella, scrap, you pull it, in full serve, but really just seeing the symbiotic relationship that can exist and the autonomy you give to some of your staff members to make calls on where product goes. Your loader operators, when they get intake saying this car could be good in the U-pull. And just, I could say it just has been immense. It's been helpful. I've actually looked back at some of the other stuff we've done from Wilbert's and at their U-pull it, and just tried to glean some information. And what's so unique, which we always talk about, is every yard is different. You could line up 5 yards, and honestly, they could be 5 yards owned by the same company, independent or you know, consolidated, and they're going to be run a little bit differently. And so there's things you can take off. So I've learned a lot. I can tell you that I left scratching my head at Everett's going, I'm not sure if I can pull this off, but we're making our own way. M&M's going to look a little different, but it gives you proof of concept.
Yeah, that's great. Well, if anybody watching has any questions, now's the time to submit them. I think we're going to begin to wrap this up unless we get any questions. But I know it's been a fun process for me, and I know Jonathan and I we spend a good bit of time each time we're together brainstorming on where we want to go next. What do we want to see? What do we think you guys want to see? So if any of you guys watching has a suggestion, obviously we want to visit members of ARA. and we like to focus on certified automotive recyclers. But we really are looking. We've looked at a few large yards, and I think in the future we're gonna kind of be eyeballing some small yards. We want to show you guys what can be done with an acre, right? Or maybe 3 acres or 5 acres, something smaller than we traditionally look at. So we're always interested in hearing from you. And Jonathan and I have a good time brainstorming about these projects, and we're looking forward to doing some more of them. Either one of you guys have anything to add before we wrap up?
I really don't. I really
Okay.
don't. We've covered a lot of stuff in 90 minutes of video and the Q&As. I appreciate ARA reaching out to me to have our facility as one of the yard tours. It was great to work with both of you guys, as well as thanking our sponsors, Allied and Raz. It was a fun project, and I hope it was informational, educational for anybody that's viewed it.
Yeah, I would just to echo that. It was great working with Tom, meeting his family, his up and coming, the 4th generation possibly coming up soon.
Yeah, correct.
And just seeing his team operating and doing a great job. And like just to echo what Vince said, I enjoy seeing yards. It's something that I think was ingrained into me as a kid. Whenever we go on a vacation, Dad would open the yellow pages and then start looking for salvage yards and see if we could accidentally drive by them, which wasn't always popular with the rest of the family, but it just is something that you just I grew up doing. But there are a lot of salvage yards.
Brenda loved that.
She did sometimes. But no, there's a lot of yards that operate on 1 acre to 3 acres, and they have so much restraint. They've had to be creative in how they can make money, and so it forces you to be efficient. Exactly. If you want to be successful, yeah. So I love to hear if there's something we've missed or something you guys would like to see, and you just can't make it outside of your world to explore those yards or these things, and we'd like to help you do it for you. And also, I know this is time sensitive, but if you're watching this in the next couple of weeks, come see us in Reno. Not next couple of weeks. We're going to be there in one week. and if you've got social media, make sure you look for Tom's picture. Oh dear. For the dinner night to dress up. Good one. Yeah. We do have our convention coming up next week, and like Jana said, we would love to see you guys out there. Come find us. Obviously, we have a big booth on the expo floor. Come find us. Tell us what you think of this series. Before we sign off, we do have a question from Norm from YouTube. He says, what would you consider to be the 2 or 3 most important things to focus on to a person with properly zoned property looking to start a small yard? It's a big question for the end of this stream. Yeah, I thought we'd wrapped it up. So here we go. I thought we did too, but he dropped the question, and I didn't want to pass it off. Yeah.
So I would say it really depends on what type of yard. What type of yard you're looking to do. Obviously, if it's a small site, it's probably going to be a later model yard. So I would originally go to the original real estate question of all time: location, location, location. It really depends on what your surrounding is. If you are going to open a full service yard, you need a large population to draw from. If you're going to do a smaller specialized yard, it's a little bit easier now with internet-based sales. So you can have a much wider customer base that you can service. But location, location, location. You can do a very nice yard on a small footprint, as Vince just said. It forces you to be efficient if you want to be profitable. You have to really know what you have to draw from customers in the area, and buy the proper inventory to meet those needs.
Yeah, I think that this is everything you just said, Tom, is exactly what I was thinking. I'd lean into ARA. I'd lean into just kind of, if you have a chance to visit the conference, if not this year, look for a regional show or a state show where you can start learning information, or call the office. I think that what I would also do is take some time, visit some yards, and join ARA, because we do have a mentor program. Yeah. So if you do find out what you are interested in, or what you think your bend would it be a highly specialized yard, or just a maybe even a self-serve yard to get started? What do we need to do it the right way? You've got the proper zoning. That's first. Let's get you certified, so we're not backtracking, having to clean up messes after you're already operational. Let's start off on the best foot you can, so that you're just going to go up from there versus trying to backtrack.
We have facilities that use our certification process, Norm. They use that process as their roadmap as they begin to build a new building, or certainly starting from scratch. It's a great roadmap. Now, I do want to go back to something Tom said, because it kind of dovetails together something Tom said and something Jono said about how Jono was talking about how different each operation operates, and Tom mentioned about needing location. There are some very successful recyclers who are in the middle of nowhere. Now, they didn't start today, like you're talking about, Norm. They started a generation or two ago. But we've got Nordstrom's is a perfect example. He's 100 miles from his closest auction, in the middle of a dairy farm, what used to be a dairy farm in South Dakota, in Garrettson, South Dakota. There are a few operators who are remote, but they have been working on cultivating that business for a long time. It can be done, but it just, if you happen to be remote wherever you are, Norm, don't think it can't be done. It certainly is going to be easier to penetrate the market the closer you are to it.
The other thing that I would say is absolutely go around and visit a whole bunch of yards before you design and set up your facility. I won't mention any names, but I was in an owners group years ago, and there was a yard that had sold to one of the consolidators, and after the non-compete opened up another yard again, and we are retrofitting a 75-year-old facility, and we try to use every inch of space and try to make it as logical as possible. And not all of it is logical, because you've always done certain things certain ways, and the way that the yards are divided and all the different stuff that we try to do, not everything can be absolutely ideal. But I watched this one company purchase a facility. It could not have been any more of a perfect square or rectangle shape, pre-existing building with warehousing space and a bunch of loading bays. It was an old shipping terminal. It could have been absolutely designed with all the years of experience, could have been designed, one of the best flowing yards of all time. And they kind of screwed it up and did a lot of the stupid stuff that they did with the old existing facility, because that's what they knew. So I would say go out and look at a whole bunch of yards and figure out really how you want to lay it down and set it up before you do anything, especially having a small footprint to work from.
Yeah.
We're our industry, Norm, and maybe you're in it, and I just haven't had a chance to meet you, but it sounds like you're getting into it. We, as much as we're competitors, we do want to help people doing it right, to do it well and give as much insight as we can. That's why I do this. I don't do this to lose business. I do this to make a better community of recyclers, because we use each other's parts so often to service our own customers.
Yeah,
on the service.
Nope, good point. Very unique. That's one of the very unique and awesome things about the auto recycling industry, is how everybody who competes, they also have a vested interest in helping each other get better. And so, all right, well, we want to thank everybody who's watched this one and the previous episodes. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us at the ARA office. You can reach me at vince@a-r-a.org and send me all your questions, your comments, your criticisms, and we'll do our best to address those. So, Tom, thank you very much. Jono, thank you very much. And a special thank you to Rebuilders Automotive Supply and Allied Recycling. Without you guys, this would not have been made possible. So thank you guys. Visit our sponsors and consider doing business with them. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.